A warm and affectionate welcome to all members and non-members of this YouTube fellowship that we affectionately call a Temple of Thought. For the first time in a couple of years, I find myself completely inadequate to deal with the subject of a video. And that will not surprise you if you come to know what indeed is the subject of this video. There's no better way that I can actually make a beginning than by showing you a picture, a sketch, if you like, that moves me beyond words. When I think of this sketch, this pencil sketch as it seems to me, I'm reminded of the words of the famous French novelist who wrote the famous novel Madame Bovary. His name is Flaubert. In one particular chapter, he deals with the inadequacy of human language. And if I may recall vaguely from memory, a book that I read perhaps 35 years ago, that sentence reads as follows: human speech is like a cracked kettle on which we tap rude rhythms for bears to dance to, while we long to make music that would melt the stars. That's exactly my predicament as I deal with this subject. Let me introduce that subject right away. And here is the sketch that I have in mind. Two friends walk away or return from the Easter. Two friends returning from Easter. One, of course, is Lord Jesus Christ, and the other, of course, is the late Pope Francis. I wish I had the eloquence to explain to you, to transmit to you my inner state as I look at this most moving conception. Nothing actually touches the heart of Easter as much as this simple pencil sketch does. Two friends heading home after Easter. That's the title. Two friends heading home after Easter. Please have a second look at it. I can't give you a better post-Easter present than that. That's why I'm pleading to have a second look at it. Oh, salute, a big salute to the artist. We do not know who the artist is, but we know the soul that conceived this idea. Now, I want to share with you a write-up that has been shared with me by one of my friends. The title of that write-up is The Legacy of Pope Francis. These are not my words. I'm simply incapable of writing such words. These words are too beautiful to be lost. And again, I can't offer you a better offering of love and respect than these words. So please let me read out these words to you. The legacy of Pope Francis. The fortune that Pope Francis left after his death, everything they haven't revealed to you yet. You won't believe it. Pope Francis died leaving only $100 behind. Yes, $100, less than 90 euros. No house, no bank account, no investments in his name, and yet he was the head of the Roman Catholic Church. a position that could have earned him around 340,000 euros per year, the salary of the Pope. But he refused this money every year since 2013. 2013 is the year in which he became Pope. Why? Because he was a Jesuit, and Jesuits take a vow of poverty. He remained true and faithful to his vow. Rather than living in the luxurious Vatican apartment like his predecessors, he chose to settle in Casa Santa Marta, a simple, modest residence. No gilding, no personal servants, just a bed, a desk, and his faith. Please remember, in this context, the Pope is not only a spiritual head, he is also the secular head of Rome, of Vatican. He has all the entitlements, protocol entitlement of the head of state. Okay, so no personal servants, just a bed, a desk, and his faith. He wore his old, worn black shoes, refusing the traditional red loafers. He traveled in a small Ford Focus, while other religious leaders ride in limousines. In Kerala, we are not unfamiliar with them. He ate with the Vatican employees, not in a private dining room. He dressed simply without special adornment, just his white attire and an iron cross. No gold cross, no elaborate costumes, the like of which you associate with bishops in Kerala. No adornment, just his white attire and an iron cross. And invisible wealth. His personality. While some cling to their possessions, their properties, their image, Pope Francis chose to own nothing in order to give everything to everyone. No millions, no complex wills, just $100. And a powerful message. It's not what you own that counts. It's who you are and what you do for others. This is the most liberating message. It's not what you own that determines your worth, but who you are and what you do for others. The world is shocked, but inspired. In an era where wealth often becomes the ultimate goal, Pope Francis leaves an eternal mark without ever seeking to enrich himself. He didn't leave a material fortune. He left a moral fortune, a lesson in humility, a vision of service. He wasn't a pope of luxury. He was a pope of heart, a man who proved that living simply is reigning differently. Pope Francis. Now, I'm sure you understand why I respected him beyond words. I wonder how many bishops in India, how many bishops in Kerala, which is the greatest concentration of the Christian presence in India, leaving aside the tiny northeastern states. How many bishops in Kerala can ever dare to think of it, much less emulating the example of the Pope? Please allow me to go through this text once again, to offer one or two comments here and there to connect this to our context. I was very close to an Orthodox bishop, a very distinguished man, perhaps the greatest scholar I have come across among all bishops in the last half a century in Kerala. He was a Syrian Orthodox bishop. His name was Paulos Ma Gregorios, who was respected throughout Christendom, and he was the president of the World Council of Churches, and he was listened to with respect and sometimes amazement not only by Christians, but even by non-Christians in many, many countries of the world. I remember his giving lectures to the scientists in IIT Delhi, though he was not a scientist. He was a respected name in Delhi University. And I remember being a participant at the Indira Gandhi International Seminar, which is actually participated in by only less than 30 invitees from all over the country. And I was invited to give a short talk there. And the experts who came from overseas, several of them asked me about Paulus Margregorius, Metropolitan Paulus Margregorius. And several of them cited his ideas in the Indira Gandhi International Conference, though it was a purely secular conference. So that bishop, when he died, had in his personal bank account, and this is about 20-25 years ago, about 8 crore rupees. 8 crore rupees. The bishop of a very small church, the total membership of the Orthodox Church cannot be more than, say, 7 or 8 lakhs. Compare that with Pope Francis, who headed a church membership, the membership of which was about 1.5 billion people. He left behind $100. $100. And he never accepted salary. He gave away his salary to charity. Imagine the Pope traveling in a modest Ford car, whereas in Kerala, bishops are competing among themselves to show off the glamour exuded by their cars. And some of them insist on keeping their expensive jazzy cars in air-conditioned garages. Nothing less will do to reflect the gravity of their episcopal status. Well, let me not go too much into this. It's very unedifying. In this context, I'm reminded of a novel, and on that I'll close. That novel, of course, is world famous. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. The French title of that novel is Les Miserables, the miserable people, the miserables. The author of that novel is Victor Hugo. And this is one of the 5 most favorite novels of mine. And in that novel, there is a depiction of a bishop, Bishop Charles Bienvenu. And that depiction and Pope Francis's personal style match. I will not provide any further details of this perfect balance. I'll leave that to you to read and discover for yourself. Practically every detail matches. And therefore, I strongly recommend Les Miserables in its English translation is readily available. And the best digital form can be found from the Australian Books Centre on the Digital Book Centre, titled Planet Books. Planet Books. Beautifully digitalized. In fact, the best digitalized books you can get from Planet Books. And please read Les Miserables and get an idea of how Victor Hugo envisages a normal bishop would live and behave. It's this bishop who influenced Jean Valjean to take a turn for the better in his life. The ex-convict Jean Valjean, and the encounter between the two became the subject of a famous one-act play called The Bishop's Candlestick. So, and from any point of view, it's immensely desirable to read Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. So, at this time, I'm also reminded of the reaction of Albert Einstein to the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. He said, it's difficult to believe that a man like the Mahatma walked the surface of the earth. It's almost in a similar state of mind that I reflect joyfully, not in any melancholic fashion. I always think of Pope Francis with a lot of happiness, immense happiness. May his example, his shining example, continue to inspire us. I feel personally very humbled by the example of the Pope. And I ardently pray that the Roman Catholic Church may get the next bishop who would continue the legacy that Pope Francis has left behind. Remember the $100? Remember the iron cross? Remember the worn out shoes? The plain white cassock? Remember the lowly Ford car? Remember the ordinary papal apartment? And finally, also remember how Francis wanted to be buried in a plain casket outside the Vatican. That is what I call personality. I'm reminded of the words of Shakespeare in the play titled Julius Caesar. These are Mark Antony's words. And he says, "Here was a man, when comes such another? Ah, when comes such another?" Thank you, Pope Francis. Thank you for being there. And thank you for walking away from our midst on the Monday following Easter, celebrating the spirit of Easter with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.